New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Knick Of Time Show. Here to give you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time with the squad back in full effect. And the Knicks shellac the Brooklyn paint jobs out of Brooklyn. You might as well just move to Connecticut right now, all right? 124 to 106. Shout out to our New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson came to play, drops a 40 piece on the Nets head, finishes with 40 points, 5 assists and 2 rebounds on the night. Shout out to Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle held down the first quarter, giving 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists. Number 7 on the MVP ladder as of today. Shout out to Julius Randle. Quickly comes in with 14 points and 5 assists. Really held it down for us in the fourth quarter with the scoring. So shout out to Quickly, who did it on both ends today. And our newest addition, the reincarnation of our man John Starks, Josh Hart, left his heart on the floor once again and drops 27 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. This man was on fire from the 3-point line. All right, I thought he could only shoot 30% from 3, but no, shoot 66% from the 3-point line today. 4 or 6, so gunshots for Josh Hart. The bench scoring outscored the Nets bench. Bench drops 52 points, so shout out to the Knicks bench. And the Knicks, after giving up 61 points to the Nets in the first half, holding to 45 in the second half, and the Knicks clamp down and smack around Dinwiddie and beat Spencer and the rest of those guys 124 to 106. So shout out to these Knicks, and shout out to you guys who are enjoying the show and the Knicks name, all the Knicks fans and Knicks Nation. Enjoy this win, man. Enjoy this win. They're not so tough without KD and those boys, all right? They're not so tough. The Nets, just to quote Jay-Z, they had a spark where they started, but now they're just garbage. They went from the top 10 to not mention at all. Oh, come on, man. The Knicks took care of business. So shout out to us, the Knicks fans, and let's enjoy this win. And also shout out to Fubu TV. All right, if you want to watch the Knicks on MSG for free, go to FubuTV.com/KOT, and you can watch the Knicks for free for 7 days. And you can cancel whenever you want, and you can record, and you can watch other cable channels. So shout out to Fubu TV. Also, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button early, because I already know it's going to be a great show, okay? Now, let me introduce you to my guys. First and foremost, let me introduce you to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with the stats and the facts.
Ryan G's in the building. Glad to see the Knicks finally get a win over the Nets. Nets beat the Knicks 9 times in a row. The last victory the Knicks had against the Nets was January 26, 2020. So it's been 3 years, but it's been a long 3 years coming. So glad to finally get that win.
Finally. After listen, man, we lost 9 straight times to these guys. I'm so glad to get a win under our belts. And of course, you already know Mr. ESPN contributor, posting and toasting contributor, Deadspin contributor, SNY contributor, my man, the Latin assassin, Lee Escobedo, back in the building from Mexico. What's going on, Lee?
What it do, man? Good to be back with my boys, with the chat, with the Knicks. I came back from a vacation. I was covering Material Art Fair in Mexico City, which is a gorgeous city and a killer event. We were partying down there. My girlfriend and I had a grand old time. Saw my best friend and ran into one and only Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, also from South Dallas. Oh, wow. Yeah, this is now living in Miami. He was there at the art fair as well. I had to chop it up with Chris Bosh, a Hall of Famer, a 2-time champ, and also a Dallas native. So that was cool and very random. but I'm definitely glad to be back here. This is a great game to jump back into. Lots to talk about. I got lots to say. I can't wait to get into it, man. Let's do it.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris Bosh too, man. Very underrated player when he went to Miami. But that's what happens when you're big somewhere else and you come over somewhere else and you play a smaller role. And we can kind of take that theme of a guy who's big somewhere else and then gets minimized to a smaller role, and we can apply that to Knicks Nation when we talk about Josh Hart today. But I'm not even going to start with Josh Hart. We're going to slow cook it. We're going to slow walk this dog, okay? We talked about Josh Hart before. I already know Lee wants to get into that, but I want to start out with my MVP. All right, this is my MVP. I already know Julius Randle made the All-Star game. All the props in the world to Julius Randle. My MVP of the team, my favorite player, one of my favorite players on this team, Jalen Brunson. Okay? Jalen Brunson, I never saw this coming from Jalen Brunson. I knew he was going to be, I thought he would be pretty good. I thought there might be times where he struggles because of the spacing to really finish in the paint. And all I can say is he's continuously grown throughout the season. He's had problems scoring over length. Today, they had a 6'7" guy guarding him the whole time. That whole Nets roster is full of long, athletic guys who can bother Jalen Brunson. And there's been times when he's been able to combat that, but more times than not, those type of players and those types of teams bother him. You can look no further than the Toronto Raptors as evidence of that. But today, it just seemed like something clicked, and he really figured it out. After missing the first 3 shots, I thought he was in trouble. I was like, oh boy, here we go again. Jalen Brunson, he's not going to be able to figure it out. We tried to kick it out to our 3-point shooter for some help. Grimes wasn't hitting nothing really. RJ wasn't hitting nothing really. Randall was hitting something, but I was like, man, we have to get something else besides this heavy diet of isolation play. But Jalen Brunson is just another level of human being. He's just figured it out. He started floating the ball. He started drawing fouls. And he's also taking more pull-up threes as the season goes on. He's already 64% on catch and shoot threes. But now when you start to implement the pull-up threes, it makes it all that much more dangerous because he's already drawing fouls out of how high clip. But now you have to worry about him pulling up from 3. And now you can head fake and catch you fouling on that line, or you can head fake and go to the hole and shoot floaters. It just opens up a whole nother dimension for Jalen Brunson. And as a guard, you really have to start to hit those threes to be extremely dangerous. And he's gotten better throughout the season and starting to do that before our eyes, adjusting to all the different types of defense that's thrown at him. And I'm just looking at this going, man, this is his first year running the team. And I thought maybe this might be his ceiling, but maybe his ceiling is even a little bit higher than I imagined. I don't know what you guys have to say about that. I'll let Lee go since it's been a while.
Ryan Russillo, podcaster and writer for The Ringer, had one of the worst takes of this NBA season today. When I think it's during the third quarter, he tweeted out, Brunson is really good, but a big part of his success is how he's officiated. What are you supposed to do here if you're DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith? Run away? And he had a clip of Brunson using his body, primarily his left shoulder and arm, and footwork to hedge in on Dorian Finney-Smith in the paint and get position, and then use a slight step back and then pull back in to draw the foul and to score. And I thought to myself, Brunson averages like 5.4 free throws a game. He is not living and dying on the free throw line. Mm-hmm. He's making tough shots in the mid-range because of his footwork, and high IQ. He's also shooting at 40% as the best three-point shooter on the team. He's knocking down threes. Both of those are huge increases because of his higher usage rate from last season, his role with Dallas, to the New Yorks. To equate his strengths and efficiency by how he lives and dies by calls by the refs is an egregious take. That is such that proves that these mainline NBA writers and analysts are not actually watching Knick games.
Yeah.
Just throwing out hot takes for the sake of hot takes. So that sentence couldn't be less accurate to describe Jalen Brunson's impact on this New York Knicks team. So that's my rant. Brunson is equally and as much of an MVP, All-Star, All-NBA in my eyes. I agree with you, as Julius Randle, who I've been very high on this season as well. It's the leadership, the poise that has rubbed off on Randle. That Randle still has his moments where he argues over calls and gets in the ref's ear, and he's lazy getting back on defense. He's still not reined in by Tibbs. But I think Brunson's a very calming force out there because Randle can really just focus on cooking people one-on-one and taking advantage of mismatches. Brunson now is the one leading the team, even though he's off and on with orchestrating a functional offense, a consistent play calling. But I think in terms of making the right reads and scoring and taking advantage of opposing defenses, man, we haven't had a lead guard like this in a very long time. I'll probably say since Mark Jackson, which is before my time, but I've seen the tape. Enough to say it's been a long, long time since we've had someone as competent as Jalen Brunson, and I stand by it, man. Best sign since Allen Houston.
Absolutely.
I think when it's all said and done, I think he'll be better than Allen Houston too.
You read my mind, man. I think there's a chance that he can start to contend for like all-time Knicks scoring titles. Like, I'm not even joking right now. The way how easily he's starting to string together a lot of 30-point games and 40-point games, I would not be surprised if we look down the line and you're like, Jalen Brunson, top 5 Knicks score. Like, I can definitely see that. And to your point, Lee, with the foul shot, the foul shooting, the bad foul shooting take, at that point, when he pointed that dumb stat out, the Nets had taken, I think, 19 free throws and the Knicks have taken 7. Bruh. So I don't know what the hell he was talking about. Spencer Dinwiddie was Congo line into the line, freaking baiting the refs into these dumb ticky-tack fouls all first half. And part of the reason why we even got back into the game, because the refs weren't giving them those dumb calls anymore. So I don't know what game he was watching, but
facts.
The Nets were definitely getting a lot of crazy foul calls with Spencer Dinwiddie in the post. But I digress. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan G. I know you got a lot to say.
I guess whoever that guy is thought he was watching prime James Harden, because Brunson definitely don't put the line like that. But today Brunson played good. There were definitely stretches where the Knicks offense looked out of whack, especially in the first 3 quarters.
Yeah,
I think Jalen Brunson's 17 in the third quarter probably saved the Knicks.
Yeah,
because I don't know what was going on for most of that quarter with the Knicks offense. The Knicks offense looked terrible in the third quarter, and defensively, I want to get into that as well. But we're talking about Jalen Brunson right now, so I think Jalen Brunson's 40 definitely bailed out the Knicks tonight. Definitely bailed them out, because there were points in the game where Knicks offense just looked out of whack, and Jalen Brunson saw what was going on. He felt the need, and he took over the game and gave the Knicks and provided the Knicks with well-needed scoring throughout the game to keep up with the Nets until the Knicks were able to blow the game open in the fourth quarter. So you definitely have to give Jalen Brunson his props tonight. Like, he played one hell of a game, 40 points, 5 assists, 23 plus minus. The only thing with Jalen Brunson tonight, if you even want to critique him, was the free throw shooting, which he was he was bad. He was bad at the free throw line tonight, which it's not like him, because he's an 84% shooter from the free throw line. But besides that, Jalen Brunson was excellent tonight, and he's showing why he should have been an All-Star this season. But of course, the Knicks being the 7th seed, they're not going to bless the Knicks with 2 All-Stars. Unfortunately,
it's possible. With Jaylen Brown out for a couple of weeks, it's very possible that he becomes his replacement. I think there's still a chance between him and Trae Young.
It might be him and Harden.
Or Harden. Good point.
Yeah,
good point.
It might be him and Harden. But Brunson to me statistically has a better shot. I think. Well, maybe that might just be me being biased, but I hope Jalen Brunson gets in there for sure. You know what, Ryan? Go ahead. I know you had something to say about the defense. I'm gonna let you go ahead and talk your stuff about the defense. What did you think about the Knicks defense? I know I have my issues, but I like the adjustment that was made. But I'll let you go first.
Yeah, definitely fourth quarter Knicks locked down on defense, and that's what pretty much won the game. Like the Knicks made stops when they needed to make stops, which was in the fourth quarter. But the first 3 quarters of I thought the 3-point defense was atrocious, honestly.
Yeah.
There was a lot of late run outs to the 3-point line, but that was mainly attributed to the Nets guards constantly getting into the paint. And then once they get into the paint and pass the ball around, Knicks defense is compromised. And then that's where you see where Mitch is missed. Because if Mitch is in there, the Nets can't penetrate into the paint that easily. And the Nets were just taking advantage of that. Spencer Dinwiddie took advantage of that all night, getting into the paint and passing the ball around the perimeter, getting wide open threes for the Nets players. And the defense was atrocious. But in the fourth quarter, I think what helped was Hart being in the game, along with IQ and those guys defensively. Had to sit RJ on the bench because RJ again was ineffective on defense. There was even one play on defense where I think Cam Johnson was running off of screens and RJ was like a mile behind him while Cam Johnson was just driving to the basket. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, how are you that far off your man running off screens? But defensively, they definitely made an adjustment in the fourth quarter. They definitely played with more energy. Josh Hart being out there, like I said, with IQ and those guys, they got out to the 3-point shooters. They locked them down and eventually, ran off for the game in the fourth quarter. But like for the most game, like first half, even some of the third quarter, they couldn't stop the penetration from the Nets, compromise the defense consistently over and over again, which led to open threes for the Nets. And they basically killed it from the 3-point line until the fourth quarter came. Yeah.
I would say, listen, Spencer Dinwiddie really killed us from the point of attack. I think I'll salute Tom Thibodeau because in the second half, Tom Thibodeau kind of switched his scheme up, and he started to do a little bit of switching and trapping Spencer off of those screens, those same screens that was getting Spencer to the rim in that first half, and getting a running start. He had to kind of stop and make other people beat us in that third quarter. And for a while, people were starting to beat us. But, those guys aren't really high quality, high playmaking type of guys. So once we was able to get the ball out of Spencer's hands for longer stretches of time, we were able to kind of combat that with Jalen Brunson. And then they eventually fell apart because the ball was out of Spencer's hand for a long period of time. So shout out to Tom Thibodeau for making an adjustment in that second half. And also shout out to the soul, the pit bull, the reincarnation of John Starks, Josh Hart. We liked watching Deuce and IQ and Grimes run that 3-man defensive weave. Hart has done the same and some. He's been on steroids defensively. He's been everywhere defensively. Tom Thibodeau talks about first and second efforts. This man gives you first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, eighth effort. This man is nonstop Energizer Bunny. His motor is insane. And it's crazy because trying hard is actually an elite skill in the NBA. You have to have the stamina, the wherewithal to do it. You have to have the processing speed and defensive IQ to guard a position, then get in position to get a rebound, and then start a fast break. Hart has it all. And there was a point in the game where the Knicks had 3 turnovers in a row. And Hart, they was on their way. The Nets were on their way to scoring on a fast break. Hart leaks out and tips the ball away from Dinwiddie on a fast break attempt. gets the ball back and the Knicks get the ball back and score and stops the bleeding. Those are those winning plays that we really need from Hart. Those are the reasons why he had the leading on-off stats when he was on the Portland Trail Blazers. And I'm so happy that when we traded away Cam and the protected first, that this is the player that we got, because he just fits perfectly for our team. Go ahead, Lee.
I'm going to start on the previous question on defense, which will bleed into my commentary on Hart. I think JLS, you made a fantastic point about the adjustments that Thibodeau made, moving more into a switch, a defensive scheme, which I think slowed down Spencer Dinwiddie. And the main component of that was replacing RJ Barrett with Josh Hart, who has the foot speed and the IQ to get under and around screens to stay on Dinwiddie, or if he's on the switch, guard whoever it is, Cam Thomas, Royce O'Neal, it doesn't matter because he's going to lock him down.
Yeah. And
I think that the other guys that are like him and that art type on other teams, like a Jared Dudley, the type of guy that was very popular in the mid 2000s, Hart is that, plus athleticism, plus skill, plus at times 3-level scoring. Like he has the grit and the capabilities of those great hard-nosed 3-and-D players, except he's like an actual NBA body player.
Yeah.
Like he has the athleticism and the length and the footwork to score 27 points at will when he's playing against certain teams. I love the pickup. I wasn't here during the last 2 games to talk about his addition to the team. I would have made that trade 10 times over. I would have included another pick, protected pick. I would have lowered the protections to 10. There's a lot of things I would have done to get Josh Hart and his team, because he was one of the 3 guys we talked about constantly for the last 2 months on who we wanted on this team.
Yeah.
So if that's a target, you do what you can do to get him. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't Cam Reddish last year. It wasn't super predictable like Derrick Rose the year before. This is a guy that the fans actually pinpointed, not just us, other podcasters. Twitter was like zeroing in on Josh Hart because he fits everything. Tertiary ball handling, on-ball defense, a big wing who can guard the 2, 3, and a little bit of small ball 4s, someone who can run the break, someone who's athletic. We got all of those intangibles in one player and gave up such a value return. Here's a hot take. After Kevin Durant, considering all intangibles and all factors in, Hart was the second best pickup of a trade deadline. Better than Kyrie Irving in Dallas, better than any of the guys that the Clippers got. Because I think all the bad news, all the drama, all the baggage that comes with some of those other guys, the question marks, doesn't come with Hart. You know exactly what he's going to give you. He fits Tibbs' player profile perfectly. Continuity with Brunson, the way that he's playing with IQ off the bench. What more could you possibly ask for? He's insurance for RJ Barrett should the Knicks move on and want to include him in the package later on. There's so many boxes he checks. He's at the perfect Knicks addition. I already am like in love with this guy and the way that he plays. I can't really see any Knicks fan not liking him or wanting him off the team, except for some personal narrative. And there was a lot of bad takes when we got him on Twitter.
Oh,
the very little Wi-Fi I had in Mexico City, I was seeing some of these Knicks influencers and content creators say some of the dumbest stuff about the pick that we gave up for Josh Hart. I'm like, do you understand like the accumulation of talent and what it takes to get guys of his caliber and potential and fit? It takes assets, and he's worth the assets we gave up. And thank God Leon Rose was smart enough to toss a protection. This wasn't Steve Mills' one free pick, whether it's lottery or not. This wasn't Grimes. It was Cam in a protected pick. That's a hell of a deal. Second best acquisition of the deadline. I stand by it. That's what I say.
Yo, Lee, I gotta watch Lee, man. Every time I think, Lee can't surprise you with something, Lee comes out with like a haymaker. It's like the second best. The second. What do you say? The second best trade made at the trade deadline.
Yes.
Yeah. Besides KD.
So besides
KD
KD,
number 1.
so I'm assuming you're like Kyrie. I guess you're thinking that Kyrie is going to leave Dallas, and that's the only reason why you're saying that.
Dallas if they clear the books, Dallas will have $53 million in available cap space this summer. Kyrie said he's not signed for less than 50 at 4 years per. That leaves $3 million in additional assets. He's not re-signing Dallas. I don't think that's where he wants to be long term. And if he does, the bar is minimum. You still have to worry about his whether he's going to commit to the team, whether he's going to commit season to season, game to game. You have no idea. He's too much of a wild card. I defended his character on this show, but I don't defend him as a teammate. He's an awful teammate. He's a good person, but I don't think he is going to stay on that team long term. He's a rental. So yeah, Hart's better.
Woo. Yo, I don't even want to spend time. You throw my whole mind off of debating this whole other topic away from the post-game show. I don't know if you have anything else to say, Ryan G.
I mean, the one thing I will agree with Lee with was, because I talked about on the other podcast, about those Knicks influencers and people on Twitter, on Knicks Twitter, talking about how the Knicks gave up too much for Harden. I was basically breaking it down, the picks and the pick that the Knicks gave up, the protection on the pick and the different scenarios, etc. Just in case. So I'm not really gonna go through that whole thing again. But yeah, Josh Hart was definitely he was excellent tonight. Like, there's no other way to describe it. And I like the fact that the Knicks brought him in for bench help, because if you look at the minutes distribution as well, I do think Thibs is doing a good job of distributing the minutes. And I think that with Hart being there, it's giving guys a chance, to rest a little bit more than normal. Because if you look at the minutes tonight, even though the Knicks are blowing out the Nets in the fourth quarter, and Thibs actually decided to bring in players off the bench for once to close out the game, because you know how Thibs is, even if the Knicks are blowing out another team, Thibs will keep the starters out there, and have them play extra minutes. But even tonight, like, Randall only 32 minutes. Like, if I have to choose like a range for Randall to play, like 32 minutes, I think is a reasonable range.
Facts.
Just Brunson, 35 minutes, again, a reasonable range. And then the bench players, Harden quickly, 27 minutes each. Harden 23 minutes. Even Toppin got 15 minutes, even though some of those minutes did come in garbage time. But I have to definitely big up Thibs for the minutes distribution. And Lee pretty much said everything about Hart today. I really can't add more to what Lee said, but I will throw this out here. Watching Hart play, it makes me even more eager for Mitch to come back.
Yeah,
because I want to see what happens when Mitch is on the court.
Absolutely.
Manning the paint with Josh Hart out there and either IQ or Grimes out there with them. I think that's going to be one hell of a defensive unit, and the Knicks are going to be crazy on defense.
Let's go.
Listen, right now, Knicks have dropped like a stone. 27th in the league in defensive rating. We were top 10 before Mitch went down. But still, we're still managing to kind of eke out some wins, even with that defensive rating. So when Mitch comes back, it's up and it's stuck for a lot of these teams on the defensive end. I feel like our 3-point defense will get better. Rebounding will definitely get better. Listen, last couple of games, offensive rebounding has been a problem. Today, they got 10 offensive rebounds, these Nets. And the Nets aren't known for offensive rebounds either. They got 10 today to, I think, our 6. So there's definitely some even more room for growth for this team once Mitch comes back. And shoot, there's more room to go for this team if some of these players kind of snap out of this funk, because there've been a few players who've been in the funk. Well, we definitely have to watch that. Also, I also want to say, Knicks Twitter, I mean, I listen, I like interacting on Knicks Twitter, but Knicks Twitter this year has had like the most worst takes this year out of any year I've ever been on Twitter. I'm not even joking. Like, from Hartenstein is better than Mitch, and Hartenstein and Sims are better than Mitch, and we should ship out Mitch for nothing. Trade IQ after the first week. The Cam Hive going crazy, thinking he's the second coming of Michael Jordan. Then IQ had a great week. IQ was better than Brunson. That was another one that was interesting. Then the Brunson slander. There was a host of ridiculous Twitter takes this season that I'm just like, I just pulled this is like an all-time worst for Knicks Twitter. I'm not even gonna hold you. This year was an all-time worst. It's like L's all everywhere. But this is why even the loud momentumous guys who rally up the troops, just because a crowd is saying the same thing doesn't make it true. And I keep saying that. And that's why I continue to be like, I don't care if everybody hates me for saying it, because time's going to tell what's right and what's wrong. And time is starting to tell, like, a lot of those takes were trash.
Yep.
Like 95% of them.
That's why I leave Jay Ellis to communicate with Knicks Twitter, because if it was me, there would be a whole bunch of fireworks, because I would be cursing out probably half of Knicks Twitter because they're so stupid, honestly.
Yeah, but it is what it is. Salute to the chat. Let me shout out the chat. We're going to talk more about Hart. We're going to talk more about the rest of the team. But salute to, no callers right now. I'm sorry, JJ. I know we took too long and you wanted to call, but we got it going. If you want to call in, you can call back. But whoever else wants to call in, all you got to do is dial that number 319-527-6241. That's 319-527-6241. All right. Now let's get it. Salute to the chat. Shout out to Glamour Knicks. Shout out to Picks for Timmy. Shout out to Supreme One. Shout out to Gamer Channel. Shout out to Paul Butler. Shout out to Stanley Mann. Shout out to Alwyn Lewis. Everybody who's rocking with the KOT show, man, child. If you love the show, hit the like button and subscribe button. We're here after every game talking Knicks basketball. You know what? Let's get to these super chats. Shout out to my man Echelon, who gives a $2 super chat. It says, Lee putting the Twitter bots on the stretcher. Yeah, man. RIP to the Twitter bots. RIP to the Twitter. RIP to the Twitter bots. Shout out to BKNY, who sends a $5 super chat, who says, if you got a BK Nets fan coworker at your job tomorrow, this is your time. Be petty. Make no apologies. Oh, you want my energy. You want my energy, PKNY. You on my energy. I can't wait to go to work tomorrow. I haven't seen my coworkers since the trade happened and since the Knicks Nets game happened. Oh man, that gentrified Brooklyn team is done for. I'm hoping, man, after this, I'm hoping they run with their tail between their legs and they move to Connecticut and we turn the Barclays Center into something else that's more useful. Y'all kicked out all those. Listen, I live in Brooklyn, right? They kicked out a lot of people to build the Barclays Center. All right, so that's definitely a gentrified Brooklyn team. Okay, they made a lot of people move and gave them $100 or however much they gave them to move that Barclays Center. Hopefully, we change that to something more productive. All right.
Back.
Skating ring or something. I don't know. A skate park. We haven't had a skate park in Brooklyn in a while. Oh man. But yo, I want to talk about something else. Josh Hart, right? Interestingly enough, I talked about Josh Hart's usage. Josh Hart used to average 19 points per game on Portland. So this year he averaged 9 points a game. But I kind of mentioned, I posted a video. It was like a solo video. I posted a video and I talked about how with Anthony Simons there and with Jeremy Grant there, his role has diminished. He's not really getting the same opportunities he had before, which probably kind of contributes to why he's only giving you 9 points per game. This could be a blessing in disguise. That could be a blessing in disguise because, you know, this is a what have you done for me lately league. If you're not scoring 20 points a game the season before, your price drops. So we might potentially really have a 20 point per game scorer on our book at a discount price because we got him at the right time. It's definitely possible. Now I did not see this output from three happening today. He's been shooting 30% from three on the season. Today, he shot 67% from three. I don't expect him to keep that up. But I don't know. This could be one of those things where he's feeling good. The Garden fans love him. He loves the Garden fans. This could be one of those things where when he's at the Garden, he has that battery in his back and you feel the crowd. You might be hyped up and hit more shots and his scoring average can go up in MSG in the Garden. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? What do you think is the real Josh Hart? And What do you think is sustainable and what isn't?
I don't know. You want to go first, Lee, or
Yeah, I'll hop in. That
All right.
19.9 points per game you referenced, Jay Ellis, was only in a 13-game sample size when he was traded from New Orleans to Portland in the CJ McCollum deal. I think that's too few games to really say that
Good
that's
point.
who he is or who he could be. I think he's probably more like the 13.4 that he played with the Pelicans before the trade, where he was not necessarily in a starting role, but kind of a six man role. He's eating up a lot of the minutes at the 2 and the 3. When Zion was out and he's getting a lot more touches, I think it's more likely he can be 13, 14. But the thing with Tibbs is, and unlike other teams, one of his pluses and minuses is it's not really about roles. Like Brunson and Randall are in the pecking order, but that 3 through 12 at any time can rotate and shift in terms of who's getting a high usage, who's getting opportunities to score, who's getting plays ran for him. And Hart could etch himself into that as a third or fourth option on this team, even above RJ and Grimes. In my opinion, I think he should start. It's time to move RJ Barrett to the bench. One of the takes I hate the most. And George from Into the Knitverse had a great monologue on this on his show. Is Knit Twitter's disgusting response to players that are under the age of 25, kids, to young kids that are trying to strengthen their mental makeup and bounce back from bad games and bad shooting stretches. And we would call them bums and want to ship them out of town and trade them at the first notice. Julius Randle, when I said trade Randle, and I called him a bum in multiple publications, dude had been in the NBA for like 7-8 years already.
Yeah.
He was on his third team. We already knew kind of what he was. And is the effort that we call bum, not the skill set. Not his ability to be an all-star or all NBA. It was the effort, mentality, and defense. That's what you call bum, not who a player is or what they're capable of doing or their age. And RJ Barrett's only 22 years old. He deserves a lot more patience. He also deserves more discipline from the head coach. And I was very happy that Tom Thibodeau benched him today after another offensive shooting performance in place of Josh Hart. I thought that was a really great move. And I'll tell you what, man, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm getting higher on Tom Thibodeau than I've ever been in his tenure as a coach with the New York Knicks. I'm still think that he should be fired in replace of a better coach, not Dicey Hashimoto or Johnny Bryant, but someone who has established a better playoff record. I advocate for that. But it's not happening this year, and he's going to play out his contract. So I'm starting to trying to fixate on the positive things he brings to his team as a head coach. And one of them is I think he's pretty democratic in terms of minutes and usage outside of Randall. And you can see that in Josh Hart taking over RJ's role in game 2. That's an impressive move, and I think the right move to this guy's giving you all the intangibles you possibly can ask for in a third or fourth option. And man, I want to see it going. I want him and Grimes in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I understand what Lee is saying, and I've been seeing the cries for Hart to start. I'm not 100% there yet because I'm more concerned with to me. It's kind of like the thing with, people saying that IQ should start, Hart should start. Me, personally, I'm not really concerned with who starts. I'm more concerned with who finishes games.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Hart coming off the bench and finishing a game and playing 27, 28 minutes a game. Like, I'm cool with that. So to me, I'm not really fixated on, like, who should start and who should be benched, per se. But with Hart, so... Yeah, like I'm more concerned with like who should be starting, who should be like, bench,
Ryan, let me ask you this, Ryan, because I think that's a fair point in terms of what's more important, starting or finishing. But don't you think that Hart adds a different dimension that's to Brunson, covering Brunson and the defensive inefficiencies as that other perimeter player, opposed to RJ, who's been very bad on the perimeter on defense? I think Hart helps hide Brunson better because they seek him out on those switches. They're hunting for him. And when you have a guy like Hart who can get under the screens, he provides better protection and more liability on the defensive side. That's why I advocate for starting. I agree too, finishing is more important, but I think starting is equally important.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say, like, because I was trying to like formulate my thoughts for a second. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second, but my thing is this, like, every championship team, not saying that the Knicks are a championship team, because they're not there yet. but every championship team has starting caliber players on their bench that can produce at a high level. Do I think Hart is going to produce 27 points per game or anything like that? No. Like, this game is definitely an outlier compared to what you're going to get from Josh Hart on most nights. But the thing with Josh Hart is that he is a capable starter, and I think that's the starting piece for the Knicks to actually build a championship roster in the future once a superstar comes in, you know, whether it's through trade, free agency, whatever the case may be, because you need guys like Hart on the bench that you know, you can put them into games and they're going to make a huge impact on the games. And because I like the fact that Knicks have right now, they have pretty much two players off the bench, IQ and Hart, that they can bring in. And, you know, immediately when those guys come into the game, impact players. Because even tonight against the Nets, when the starting unit was in there, the game was close. And pretty much I think it was in the second quarter, and you could pretty much say in the fourth quarter as well. Once IQ Hart got into the game, that's when the Knicks actually increased the lead on the Nets.
Yep.
The Nets started to come back against the Nets play better against the starting unit as opposed to the bench guys. So when I look at that, I'm like, I would rather it stay that way. RJ Barrett is struggling right now, and he does need to find it, and he does need to find his rhythm. Yeah, you would want RJ to play with that second unit because you know, he would be the main guy in terms of scoring with that second unit. But at the same time, it's like, do I really want to put RJ on the bench when Hart and IQ has such a huge impact coming off that bench? You know, so to me, that's why I'm like, I'm not really too concerned about who starts or who finishes. I mean, who starts, I'm more concerned about who finishes games. And yes, when RJ is struggling, like tonight, where defensively he's bad, offensively he's bad, and he's pretty much a negative on the court, yeah, that's when you bring in Hart and those guys off the bench to finish out games, and then you sit RJ. So, I mean, I'm cool with the rotation with the way it is at the moment.
You convinced me. That's a great argument. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. Well
and
said.
I was going to second that, Ryan, before you kind of broken down. Like, I can see the argument for both, because let's be real. Grimes and RJ are struggling right now. It's not even just RJ. Grimes but you know, RJ more on both ends. Grimes just on the offensive end. Grimes has been shooting, his last 20 games, he's been shooting, I think, 32% from the field. Last 20 games, 32% from three, 44% from the field. Last 20 games. RJ Barrett, he's been having slow first halves for like a week, and it seems like it's going downhill with the defense. But I kind of like, I just like the idea of the speed in which the bench is playing with right now. I like how when the bench comes in, it just punches you in the mouth. And I kind of also liked how it didn't show this game, but the last game, I felt like Hart was kind of finding Obi the game before. I'm not sure if you saw that game, Lee, because you might have still been traveling. And
yeah, I didn't see it.
I'm still hoping, even though it didn't really transpire today, and it was kind of disappointing that Obi didn't really get involved in this, really. I'm hoping that, you know, Hart being a defensive anchor with that second unit is going to have these guys in transition even more. Obi will have more opportunities to run, and him and IQ can kind of cause havoc. And like Ryan G said, if a quick hook has to happen, then it happened. Then you can go iHeart and Grimes to finish the game, or iHeart and IQ, or whatever combination you want. Today, I think we had iHeart and we had IQ hitting clutch baskets to finish the game, and it worked out for us. So I don't mind that. I don't mind those type of options at this point. It'll be interesting to see though what happens once playoff time hits, because these type of substitution patterns for guys who followed Tom Thibodeau for as long as we have are usually telling. You know, we've seen this a lot where you get to see who he favors by who he finishes more with. We used to see Evan Fournier start games and then end up on the bench. We starting to actually to see happen with Grimes a lot lately. Grimes hasn't finished the last two games. And RJ today hasn't finished as well. But I'm not sure if RJ didn't get into foul trouble if he would have finished the game or not today. You know, I can see RJ still finishing the game if he didn't get 5 fouls. So it'll be interesting to see if, from my eyes, it looks like Hart might start possibly in place of Grimes, if anything. And usually I would say, by the way Tom Thibodeau does things, I would usually say that might happen more next season and not this season, because I feel like he still wants to manage like emotions and play, you know, because it's not 2K. When you bench some guys, it's not just like 2K. Like, it has a wrinkle effect. People get pissed, and it can cause problems. So he might not do it this season. But if he made the playoffs and something weird's happened, I can see him benching Grimes or something during the playoffs. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's quite possible. You know, like, I do agree with you. Like, I don't think Thibs is going to make the decision right now in the middle of the season to really bench Grimes or bench RJ and put Hart in there. I think Thibs is pretty content with, you know, having the starting lineup be the way it is, and then just bring Hart off the bench as a high impact player. But I can definitely see a situation where, you know, say the Knicks are in a playoff series and say like the Knicks are down in the series, where Thibs would make that adjustment and be like, you know what, let me start Hart and bench either Grimes or bench RJ and see how that goes. I could definitely see that happening. But I think for the regular season, I think Thibs is going to basically stick to status quo.
Yeah. He did it with Elfrid Payton.
Yes.
Payton was starting all season. We all said he sucked, and then all of a sudden Derrick Rose was starting versus the Hawks. So
Ryan's convinced me with a pretty solid case of what Hart brings off the bench, and we've lacked scoring off the bench all season. I mean, really, like since the start of the season, even with our new additions. So I like the idea of Hart being kind of a microwave. Even if IQ isn't cooking or he's not having an efficient night, I think you can depend more on Hart to be a little bit more efficient shooting wise. Even if the point range is between 10 or 12 points, he's going to do it on efficient shooting. So I like the idea of having him off the bench. And if he starts over Grimes or RJ, I probably, at this point, after this discussion, prefer RJ to stay in the starting lineup. I have my frustrations. I think we all do. Like, we're all RJ fans. The fan base itself never had the same animosity toward RJ as it did Randall, because RJ was drafted by us as a third pick. He's our highest pick since I think Patrick Ewing. Like, it's been a really long time we've had someone in the high lottery, and we really want the guy to do well. I still think a lot of grace and patience needs to be given to him. I hate to take to trade him, dump him, waive him, fire him. Those takes for someone who's 22 years old and has minimal experience in the NBA at his position, like, that's too hasty, in my opinion. It should be restrained, while also hoping and praying that Tibbs continues to discipline him and bench him when he's not playing well. And he's been doing that. Tibbs gets all the flowers for the way that he's managed RJ's minutes and his place in the rotation and usage rate when he's not playing well. I think Tibbs is the right coach for RJ in this scenario. When he's cooking, he'll finish games. When he's not, put him on the bench.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like, you criticize RJ here on this program. You already know that. My stance on RJ is still the same. My stance on RJ, it's been a rough week or so with RJ. I'm still not out on him. I still want him to do well. He's still young. He can still turn it around. He has a lot of work to do. He's shown a lot of flashes. I've liked his touch around the rim this season more than anything. He's money from one side of the 3-point line in that corner. Today was awful. He definitely needs to step up the defense. The playmaking has to step up, and he just needs to do better. That's it. But I'm still rooting for the kid. Now, I'm not saying trade RJ at any cost or anything like that. Like most people here, for the right move, I would move pretty much anybody here, but it has to be the right move. Like, I see some of these moves like, oh, trade him for like a first round pick. Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not doing those type of things, because to me, like, this is still a team that's on the build. This is a foundation that we're building right now. And when you're building foundation, you need reps, you need consistency, you need bricks that know their role. So we already know the Brunson brick, you're going to be the closer, you're going to be the engine. The Randall brick, you're going to be our punisher. The Grimes brick, you're going to be the 3-point shooter. We need guys who are familiar with the system and can grow from year to year. And RJ for now is part of that, and I'm sticking with him unless some deal comes that makes sense. But I'm not out on him. I'm not quit on him. I'm not anything on that. You know, I'm still
and keep in mind, as awful as he's been in first halves, as awful as he's been on defense, as awful as he's been decision making, he's been clutch. The last couple of games, he's came through in big moments in the last couple of minutes of the fourth quarter. I love that first game by Hart. I caught the highlights of Hart's like tenacity on offensive rebound and finding not Randall for ISO shit or Brunson, but RJ wide open in the corner in his spot, and RJ hit the button. So still give a kid credit. He has a strong mental fortitude, and he lives for that crunch time moments. And he doesn't always thrive, but he tries his best to come through. He tries really hard, and I like that about the kid. I think he has a lot of growth and potential, just not what we might think of what that is as a third pick in the draft.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I just want to like jump in right quick, and I have to big up Thibs on one thing, because remember, I think pretty much last season, you could pretty much look at last season. Remember how in the fourth quarters where it doesn't matter who on the bench is playing well, Thibs just putting that starting lineup right back in there, no matter what. Like 5 minutes, left in the game, he would put that starting lineup in no matter what.
Yep.
You can see this season where Thibs is he's actually showing some flexibility this season, because game by game, he's not putting every starter back out there to shut the game down. He's actually going with who he thinks has a hot hand at the moment. And he's not just stuck on playing his starters down the stretch. And I think it's a big positive that now you have 4 guys where you can rotate them for 2 spots in the fourth quarter, depending on how hot they are. You have Grimes, IQ, and Hart, where it's like you could just go with the hot hand. And I think Thibs needs credit for that, because even though we talk about Thibs' stubbornness and things of that nature, he has shown the ability to be flexible this season.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Thibs has been more flexible this season than he has any other season with us. And there's still room to grow, that's for sure. I still have my gripes. The offense is still weird. I still hate how we go ISO, and then when we can't find anything, we just throw it to the top of the key. But Thibs has made. Listen, he benched Derrick Rose. He benched Evan Fournier at the top of the season. He started quitting Grimes. He's done a lot of things that are out of his comfort zone. Still has more ways to go. Still hope he hires an offensive coordinator, but he's definitely made some changes, and I give him credit. But he has some growing to do still, but he's grown some this year.
And he's been great developing. I mean, Emmanuel quickly has grown as a person and a player tremendously under Thibs. I give Thibs all the credit for that. I mean, obviously, IQ's a grown man. He deserves some of that of his personal accountability, and that's a positive. But Thibs, as a mentor and coach, I think maybe more than any other player, IQ has really benefited from Thibs as his leader.
Absolutely. IQ today, even. I think he hit 12 points in the fourth quarter from Emmanuel quickly. Really manned that unit when he really manned that unit when they started to come back. Josh Hart stopped the bleeding. Emmanuel quickly was really clutch, because like you said, man, we've been struggling hitting 3-point shots. If it wasn't it's been Emmanuel quickly and Josh Hart, the guys off the bench, who's really been bailing us out from the 3-point line, and not just depending on Brunson. So shout out to Emmanuel quickly, had another nice game today. And I saw some ridiculous stat that said he had the highest defensive Raptor rating in the entire NBA or something like that, going off the top of my head. But his defense has been phenomenal all year. Underrated defender. Has gotten better from last year to this year. And I've said it year one. I see leadership qualities in Emmanuel quickly. And people might have looked at me weird when I said that, because I saw how he was managing himself and the team in summer league. But I see leadership qualities in Emmanuel quickly. I see it in Miles McBride as well. And I really think like if he stays with his team longer term, he's going to be one of the important voices in the locker room and for this team. There's already been pieces written on how he directs the team defense. Shout out to Fred Katz, who wrote a whole piece about that. And I've talked about that in this program. Watch how quickly points to other guys on the floor, say go here, and anticipate where guys are and gets Obi in the right spots for rotation. And so he's already done that, and I think his role with his team, if he stays long term, is going to grow even bigger. So shout out to Quick and development.
AJ
of
Ellis
Tom
got a
Thibodeau.
super chat.
Yeah. Well, now, let's get to the super chat. I be trying not to like to mess up the flow of conversation when I see the super chat. But I see everybody going, "Whoa, super chat, whoa."
Yeah, I definitely had something definitely had something to add about quickly, but we could do super chat.
But first, okay, hold on. First, shout out to my girl K Steele in the chat. K Steele, she was at the game today. So, but K Steele, man, when you want to come back on the show, you already know, hit me up.
Please do.
You get the fast track to come on. You gotta hit me up. All right. But but I'd like to see you in the chat, K Steele. $20 super chat from Papa Lee. All right, Lee's Pops says, "Let's go Knicks, beat down the Nets." Kept it simple. Go ahead, Ryan G.
No, I think one of the most underrated improvements in IQ, and I think a lot of people don't really point it out. Like everybody points out his defense, and his defense has definitely made a major improvement this season. But if you look at IQ's shot selection, especially from his first year till now,
oh yeah,
his shot selection has definitely improved, and I feel like that's the reason why his 3-pointers are falling more nowadays, because he's actually taking better threes as opposed to just throwing it up. So yeah, I have to give IQ credit there as well. The shot selection still needs work at times, but he's definitely become a much better shot selection type of player. Like he definitely takes better shots as opposed to his first year in the league.
Yeah, his shot selection has grown leaps and bounds. He actually gave Obi a lob today, and I already know Obi was shaking. And he's like, "Man, do you have some of those lobs? I haven't had a lob in like 3 weeks, 4 days, 5 hours, 32 minutes." And it's just like, man. So he finally got a lob today, but like I agree with you. His playmaking and his shot creation, his shot selection has grown tremendously. And I appreciate him for it. Guys, anything in the chat that you want to point out? I haven't really been looking at the chat, but if there's any comments in the chat, or if you want to call in too, 319-527-6241. That's 319-527-6241. If you want to call in, talk Knicks basketball with us, go ahead and do that. All right.
I'll say this: you got Stanley in the chat saying that, "Wow, $20 super chat can make sense."
yo, Stanley is always crazy. Heart to heart, our heart passing through the slashing heart. Oh yeah, I know everybody was waiting for the heart to heart pun to use once that happened. Everybody was
Love it.
love it. Knicks PG needs to reward the bigs when they set screens that roll to the rim more. Absolutely. That's still one big thing that I feel like we're lacking.
Yep. All of us been saying that all season.
Facts.
Yeah.
Especially Brunson, more than anyone.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that used to be RJ's strengths. Lobbing it to Mitch. Shoot, even IQ to Obi. That was a staple for a long time, and he hasn't really done that in a while. I don't know, maybe he's gun shy because teams have been scouting it, or what. But we need to find those guys on lobs a lot more often, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Any more? If that's it, we can wrap up the show. Unless you guys have some other things you actually want to discuss. Final thoughts.
Well, it's finally good to beat the Nets. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely good to beat the Nets, man. Brooklyn paint jobs are dead. Had a spark when they started, but now they're just garbage. I can't. I'm just happy that regime is over.
Yeah,
Me too.
It's good riddance. Good riddance. Now I can torture my I can torture the guy at my job who's a Nets fan tomorrow. I'm waking up early tomorrow morning, just torture him. It'll be fun.
I got a bruh pick.
Oh, go ahead.
My bruh pick is everyone involved in the Cam Reddish discourse. Like all the Cam supporters and the Cam haters, like there just can't be any nuanced in the middle opinion of how that situation like went about. You know, he didn't have a great motor, but he is extremely skilled. He's not the second coming to Michael Jordan, like you joked early in the show. He's a good player who I think in the right system with the right coach and right supporting cast can probably thrive as a 14-point per game player with a 40% stroke from three-point land. But he's not, to me, a bona fide starter. We had a lot of questions among the three of us on this panel in the beginning of the season on who should start. And it was very close between Cam and Grimes, but all of us agreed Cam's motor and consistency on defense and shot selection is why we think he should be on the bench or why we're worried about him as a starter. And all those things came true. Was it also a mismanagement of assets? 100%. Leon Rose should not have went out and got a guy that doesn't fit Tibbs' player profile. That was a mistake. That's on Leon Rose and Worldwide West or whoever, or Gerson Rosas or whoever was behind that negotiation, if you're watching. And as well, Tibbs, not utilizing him to his full potential, giving him inconsistent minutes, inconsistent role, and then benching him, to me, a really blatant sign of disrespect, the way he handled him as a player and a person on the team. I did Tibbs accountability for that. And then Cam not bringing it every game, not being committed to defense every time that he played, not taking full advantage of his minutes. That's on Cam as a grown man. It can be a nuanced, complicated situation. It's not black or white. I hate how Knicks Twitter just wants to have a villain. And it's like Cam is a villain in that sense, or Tibbs is a villain in that sense, when really they're both accountable and they should both be held responsible, as well as Leon Rose in that situation. I wish him all the best. I hope he gets 30 minutes with the Blazers. I'd much rather have Hart, and I'm much happier with Hart. Glad he's here.
Absolutely. You was with us in Spirits last show because that was exactly the topic last time. That was exactly the topic last time. I made a comment on Twitter about Josh Hart. Like, if you don't like Josh Hart now, and you're not a fan of Josh Hart after the way he's playing now, you might as well not be a fan on this team. You might as well just not be a fan. And then Ryan G goes on the show and says Portland might need some more fans. You can go join Portland. And I completely agree.
Yeah, I like the way how Lee so eloquently broke it down between the whole Cam and Dip situation, where, you know, I just pretty much was like straight to the point, and I was like, you know, at Cam Hive, it's about time you need to hop off that man's job. I pretty much said it like that, but I'm glad Lee is here because he said when I would go straight to the point and be like, you know what, it's about time y'all hop off.
Exactly.
Listen, we said it differently, but the same sentiment.
He broke down the science.
It's the same sentiment, man.
He was like, yeah, you know, the plus minus and the motor. And Ryan, just hop off his job, all right? Oh man, yo! Shout out to Mikey who wrote like a hell of an article. Mike says you want go to nickoftimeshow.com. Got a blog says unlike Cam Reddish, Josh Hart plays with a different level of urgency for the New York Knicks. I was like, yo, Mikey went for it. Mike, if you don't know, Mikey is usually very positive and like finds the good. So this was very interesting and different take from Mikey. Did a good job on this article. So shout out to Mikey.
Well written, man. I shared the hell out of that one. I love Mikey. I think Mikey's a fantastic writer.
Yeah, Mikey's
we're
awesome.
very lucky to have him on the team.
We have Rob is really good too. And you haven't seen Rob's writing too, but our writing team is really, really good. Very underrated. First Knicks content creators to have actual blog.
Let's go.
A lot of first. Trust me. More first to come. All right, that is our show. Thank you guys for rocking with us.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Next game is what's the next game?
Atlanta on Wednesday.
Ooh, that's the game where I hate playing Atlanta without Mitch, man.
Yeah.
I hate playing Atlanta without Mitch. Like I always feel like we miss Mitch the most when we play Atlanta. Like every single time. But hopefully, you know what, Hart has played a lot better since Mitch has been absent. So hopefully that trend for Hart continues and we able to figure something out and actually win on the boards and beat Atlanta. Because we need these wins. We need these wins really bad right now. Because right now we are a half a point behind for sixth place in the East behind the Heat. The Nets right now are fifth. But I can see things changing. I can see us going as high as fifth. But I at least want to get that sixth spot for sure and lock that up.
Yes. Good job, Denver. Good job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is the Josh Hart jersey available for sale yet? I'm not sure. Also, Fritz asked me, Jay Ellis, do you want anybody off the buyout market for a backup point guard? No, I'm not interested in anybody in the buyout market. Like the buyout market is like old vets. I don't need old vets on the team. Like the reason why I'm okay with Josh Hart, even though he's a vet, is he's still young 20, he's still mid-20s, you know? So a mid-20 guy, he's still considered in that sweet spot, prime type of player. Once you start getting to like the 30s and the 32s and 33s, even though in reality that's not old, but in basketball years is old, I'm not interested in bringing guys over 30 to take away minutes for Emmanuel Quickly at that backup point guard spot. I'd rather Quick have that experience being the backcourt PG in playoff action and growing that way. All right.
Yep.
All facts.
Yep. All right. That is our show. All right, Lee, let them know where they can find you.
Find me on Twitter at _ Lee Escobedo. Vibes have been good. Vibes have been immaculate lately. So there's been no need to debate, no need to argue, no need to fly my fired Tibbs flag. I'm enjoying the wins. I also want to give a major shout out to mods in the chat. You know, it's great. We've had 100 people in here watching almost the entire time. Big ups to the Knicks fans out there staying up with us late. With this breakdown analysis, we appreciate you. I was a fan before I was on a show, and I know what it's like. That work in the morning, you're still up here listening to us talk about the Knicks and commiserating with us in the comments. We appreciate and have much love for you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are nothing without you guys. So everybody who's been watching us tonight, we super appreciate you. And yeah, man, come kick it with us. You can call the next time. You don't have to be shy too. I'm sorry, we kind of took a little minute to get to the phone lines, but next time we'll try to do it a little bit faster. I didn't want to break up the conversation, but salute to everybody who supported us from the beginning of the season to now, and the newcomers too. Salute to you. Welcome. All right, Ryan G, let them know where you can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Sir G is Chillin'.
Sir G is chilling.
That's SIR. G is CHILLI. And you can also find me at Sir G's Corner. You can also find me on Twitter at RyanGKOT. Big up the Knicks tonight. Finally beating the Nets. You have one MSG in Manhattan. You have another MSG in Brooklyn. Let's go.
Let's go. I like to call them MSG too. All right. All right. You already know. Let me get to the screen. Listen, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. That's where you can find us when you listen to us on podcasts. Get those black and white and blue and orange snapbacks at theknickoftimeshow.com as well. All you got to do is go to knickoftimeshow.com, hit catalog, boom, all the merch shows up right there. All right. Also, go to the KOT Show on Twitter, the Knick of Time Show on Instagram, and the Knick of Time Show on Facebook. If you want to follow us on all social media. Shout out to my laptop that just died. My lights are out, so it's a good time to end the show. All right. So thank you guys for watching us. Also, shout out to Fubu TV. If you want to watch the Knicks for free for 7 days, go to FubuTV.com/KOT. Also, don't forget to hit that like button on the way out and subscribe. Subscribe if you're feeling the channel. We're almost at 8K. We're like getting very close to 8K followers, subscribers on YouTube. We really want to get to 10. Before we get to 10, gotta get to 8. Okay. But yeah, great show, guys. Kathy, I see you, girl. Get back on the show. All right.
Yo, Kathy, what's good?
What's good, Kathy?
Come
through. But yeah, man, thanks for rocking with us. And as always,
shout out the Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
It's a mess out here in these Knicks YouTube streets. That's our show. We out this mug. Peace.
York, New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.